1 from Atlanta. The Hawks playing host to an Eastern Conference affair here at the Phillips Arena. We've got some terrific NBA action in store for you today. This is Kevin Harlan with Greg Anthony and Brent Barry. From the sideline, we'll have David Aldridge. We'll be hearing from him in just a moment. Celtics made a special trip here for one game. Back in Boston for the next one. Guys, when you compare their performance last season to where they sit right now, not a whole lot different story. Not necessarily a big surprise either.
This is a special matchup. I mean, we got here tonight. Two rival franchises, a lot of history between the two, and some bad blood. So let's just see how all this adds up in terms of drama.
Well, this game is like camping, intense. These teams are so highly competitive with one another, it's scary.
And before we get going, let's catch up with our Hall of Famer, David Aldridge, who had a chance to speak with head coach Brad Stevens. David, what do you have to say?
Well, Kevin, we know here in Atlanta, Mike Budenholzer has assumed the dual role of coach and GM of the Atlanta Hawks. It's a tough task, but he can draw on the experience in San Antonio. Greg Popovich has a similar role. Like Pop, Coach Bud makes sure to listen to his differing opinions and empower the staff. Kevin?
He's done a terrific job, Dave. Thank you. Brent, just how important is it to develop habits and routines early in the season that will set up a team for success in the months to come?
Well, Kevin, the habits in the early part of the season aren't really habits. It's more expectations. It's the expectations of the coaching staff with the way you're going to come in every day, your mentality in practice, and then your acceptance of your role. That's what the season, and especially the early part of the season, is about.
All fueled up and ready to go. Brought to you by Gatorade. Let's check out who's on the floor. On the court right now for the Celtics. Thomas is the point with Bradley to his side. Smart is out there with Amir Johnson. And it's Horford in at the 5, roaming the paint. And so it's the Hawks getting on the board first. Smart dishes to Horford. Pocket 6. Got a piece of it. The Celtics need to get a shot off. Thomas outside. That one, no good. And Atlanta will come the other way. They put up a nice win against the Bucks the last time out.
And how about the game plan that was constructed for that one? I mean, it was apparent how powerless the D was to stop it.
Yeah, offensively, they got all the momentum behind them, got the D on the ropes, and they just kept throwing haymakers.
Howard, that's good.
Well, Hawks coach Mike Budenholzer, his players will tell you, does a great job of being inclusive, making everybody from the stars to the reserves feel like they matter. He's establishing a collective trust. It makes a difference on the court. You can see the communication between staff and player.
And really smart to draw his man out to the perimeter. He's giving up too much size to be effective inside.
I think he spotted an area on the floor to gain that separation and then let it fly with a quick release.
And taken away by Johnson. Smart kicks to Bradley. Tries to save it. And here in the first, closing in on 2 minutes play. He dishes it to Horford from 12 feet out. And terrific work on the offensive glass, and he picks up 2.
And you like to see that from Horford. He never gives up on the offensive glass, which allows him to get pretty easy looks like that one at the basket.
Now, here's Millsap. He had a 21-point outing in their last game against Milwaukee. And that one's good. Schroeder. Here's Thomas. In the corner, Smart with it. Off the mark there with the three-point shot.
Rare you'll see him miss such an open look.
Here's Bazemore. And count the basket. He was fouled, and he's going to the line for one more.
It's okay to watch fundamental basketball from time to time. Created the size mismatch down low and took advantage.
So Boston going with almost an entire new group here. Tyler Zeller's checked in for Horford. Urebko comes in for Amir Johnson. Brownie's checked in for Smart. And Terry Rozier subbed in for Thomas.
Well, you had the feeling that Dwight Howard was going to move on from Houston this last offseason. Ends up opting out and signing on with his hometown team, the Atlanta Hawks. Got a sizable 3-year deal as well.
And for Howard, he was courted by several teams in free agency, arguably the biggest name at the center spot.
Well, he met with several teams that would have been a good fit, but I think the hometown factor was too hard to pass up with Atlanta. Might be his last big contract in the league. Might as well take it for the team you loved growing up.
And that one falls for Zeller. 32 seconds left here in the first quarter. Passes it to Muscala. There's a screen from beyond the arc. And Tim Hardaway Jr. with the three. Hardaway's got his first 3 points of the game.
Timely passing leads to assists, and that's been the recipe for success.
Here's Bradley. Here's Rozier. And the release was before the buzzer, but it's off target. And so the first quarter is in the books. Hawks lead by 6. 2K Sports back in a moment here at Phillips Arena in Atlanta. And a chance now to hear from Paul Millsap talking about the confidence of his team.
You know, our attitude approaching the game has been, you know, we can beat any team in this league. You know, if we work together and, you know, put everything into play, you know, we'll be all right. And that's the kind of attitude we've been having. You know, that's the attitude we have to keep.
Greg, it's got to be more than just attitude, right? I mean, ultimately, don't you have to have guys step up and produce in some cases or even overproduce?
You do, but really it is about attitude and confidence. I mean, those are the two elements that if you bring to the table, you really will have a chance to beat anyone. And so don't discount that attitude when you're on a roll. They call it getting your swag on today. Back in the day, it was called having your mojo working. Right. So same thing, and you can ride that for quite a ways.
And the first quarter is in the books. Second about ready to get underway. Well, from what you guys are seeing from the Hawks, what are you thinking about their performance?
Just the start they're looking for in this game. Solid offensively through the first.
Well, they snuck out to the lead partly because of the play calling, largely because of the execution.
On the 4 for Boston. Yarebko at the 4, Olynyk at the 5. Rozier's out there with Bradley. And it's Brown in at the 3. Okay, well, let's check in with David Aldridge, who's reporting from the sideline.
Well, guys, one of the players Boston really wanted when they traded Rajon Rondo to Dallas a couple of years ago was Jay Crowder. And since Crowder arrived in Boston, he's been a culture setter. Arriving in the midst of a losing streak, he said, "I lost my mind. I pulled Coach Stevens to the side and asked him, what are we trying to do here?" Crowder wasn't done. He went to the front office and to teammates. He said, "I play to win." Kevin, he'll accept nothing less.
Great stuff, DA. Thank you. And the Celtics, a stifling defensive ball club under head coach Brad Stevens.
I mean, tremendous perimeter defenders. One of the top-rated teams in the league in terms of steals. And even without being a dominant defensive rebounding and shot-blocking team, they were so good on the wings that it didn't matter.
And here's Humphries following Jaylen Brown's 3. Here's Delaney. Not really his range, and it's off target. Celtics trail by 6. Outside Bradley. Dishes to Yarebko. Here's the screen. Pass to Brown. That's tipped.
Well, it's tough to get anything past Cephalosha with that length. Insane reach and quick instincts on defense, really wreaking havoc.
And Muscala kicks to Cephalosha. Here's Delaney. It's hauled in by Brown. Well, it was the Boston Celtics winning their last game against Dallas.
And no doubt in my mind, the overriding factor in that game was their huge edge on the backboard.
That wasn't even close. All 5 guys crashing the boards at both ends of the floor. They simply controlled the glass.
Feeds it to Muscala. Pass to Cephalosha. There's the 3. Good for the basket. Starting off 1 for 1 with that shot.
Well, that shot by Cephalosha goes up almost as soon as he catches the ball there. Really quick release.
Here's Rozier. He hasn't scored yet. That, I'm sure, will change. Bradley can't get it to go. Now Hardaway. From deep. The clock runs out, and we're heading to halftime. Hawks on top, up by 7. And now let's catch up with David Aldridge, who's standing by from the sideline. All right, Dave.
Thanks, Kevin. Coach, are you content with the looks you've been getting and the overall execution offensively?
Yeah, both teams are scoring. You know, it's going to be the team that decides to get some stops.
Defense always wins at the end. Thanks, Coach. Back to you, Kevin.
All right, David, thank you. And stay with us, folks. We'll be back just after halftime to get the third quarter started.
The 2K Sports Halftime Show.
First half in the books. Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny the Jet Smith. Welcome back as we break down. After 2 quarters, it's Atlanta out in front. They have a nice 7-point lead. And we'll start with the big fella. Shaq, what'd you see from them out there?
You got to like their offense efficiency. They were patient, took good shots. That was reflected in their high field goal percentage. They just need to keep playing smart in the second half and close this thing out. Don't get cute now.
And over to Kenny. What did you think about Boston?
Well, they're giving up too many high percentage looks, Ernie. They're not closing down the lane, and they're not going hard on the perimeter. That will get an L in any book.
It is just about time now for the third quarter to begin. After the final buzzer sounds, the 3 of us will still be sitting here talking to you.
Actually, it's 4 people.
Welcome back to Atlanta as you get a look at the famous facade of Phillips Arena, home of the Hawks. And now the third quarter about to get going. You look at Jaylen Brown, what a contribution.
Yeah, and the numbers don't jump out at you, but the impact on the game sure does.
No doubt, huge contributions, not all showing up in the stat sheet, having an impact on this game.
The topics that always seems to come up when players retire is what's next. Brent, you were a 14-year veteran in the league. How big of a change has it been from retirement to when you played, the transition period in between and adapting to it?
Well, I thought about life after basketball for quite some time, and you know, Kevin, from knowing me, that broadcasting was something I was very interested in, so I had the opportunity to talk with a few people after I retired, and I felt like the timing was appropriate and seamless to be able to continue talking about players that I had played with, played against, coaches that I played with, coaches that I played against, and continue to pass along at least some of the knowledge and maybe some of the perspective that I've had throughout the course of 14 long, celebrated years in the game.
Fun years. Any thoughts to coaching?
Yeah, some thoughts to coaching eventually. When my boys get a little bit older, I'll coach somebody else's kids. Right now, I'll coach my own.
You'd be terrific. On the wings, it's Korver and Bazemore. Paul Millsap out there with Howard, and it's Schroeder in at the 1 spot. They're the group for Mike Budenholzer starting the second half. That free throw, no good.
And Dwight Howard, you know, he's lost some explosiveness over the years, but still remains an intimidating presence when he's healthy. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call him a #1 option on the offensive end, but still great in the pick and roll, better than most when it comes to posting. And defensively, when he's moving well, a straight beast.
And he can't hit the second. And talking about Howard's defense, he's blocking fewer shots these days, but he remains extremely difficult to score against in the paint.
Yeah, statistically, opponents still struggle to shoot against him. He has the power and instincts to stop most true centers from getting comfortable on the blocks, and his reputation goes a long way toward unnerving opponents.
Johnson. Rebound, Atlanta.
Another rebound hauled in. They're hitting the glass with a lot of passion.
Bazemore for three, knocks down the three ball. Bazemore's got 6.
Assists like that have typified their effort today. Terrific ball movement.
And now the first timeout called here for Boston. Now let's check out the rebounds and where they're coming from. Here's a breakdown showing the front court and the back court rebounding numbers for Atlanta.
And their big men are getting the majority of the rebounds. You like all 5 guys boxing out and getting on the glass, but at the end of the day, that's their role to control the board.
There's 1:54 left in the third quarter of the game. Thomas a screen. Johnson the pass to Bradley. Will not go. This is off the front iron.
And no connections yet so far, guys. 0 for 3 from the field.
And the Hawks 2 seasons ago storming to 60 wins and Brent the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And along the way, a franchise best 19-game winning streak.
Well, how amazing was that month of January where they played perfect basketball. The starting 5, they were all named co-players of the month. That was a first in league history. Also the franchise's first time to the conference finals in that season. But after getting swept, you know they still have some work to do. And if you want to talk about the idea of players being made in the offseason, look no further than Kyle Korver as a case in point. His trainer in Santa Barbara calls him the optimizer. He's always working to find an extra edge, finding ways to realize every last ounce of his God-given potential. He's tapped into that for sure.
And he makes the first. Well, you talk about Korver leaving no stone unturned. Quite literally, did you see that story, Brent, about him carrying that rock underwater?
Yeah, pretty amazing. Kyle Korver participating in the practice of Masagi out by the Channel Islands, running a 5K underwater, taking turns carrying a big stone, which keeps him submerged for the time that he's running along the baseline. That's why you can't slow him down while he's on the NBA court.
And Brent, here's something you may not know about the name Korver. It means the German occupational name for basket maker, huh? Think about that. Very appropriate for Kyle.
Is that true, Kevin? That's amazing. You do more research than Greg Anthony does. And man, he can fill it up. One of the game's very best.
Celtics trail by 13. 50 seconds left in the third quarter. Johnson dishes to Horford. Rebound by the Hawks. Howard's got his 4th rebound with that last one here tonight.
The edge on the glass is the difference. It's allowed them to build this lead.
Here's Schroeder. Goes back up. A stupendous finish in traffic. 6 points for Howard.
Yeah, and when Howard is allowed to get near the bucket, he capitalizes easily on the offensive glass. He sees the game so well.
4 seconds separating the shot and game clocks. The feed to Smart. Beyond the arc. Rebounded by Howard. Howard's got 6 rebounds here tonight. And Bazemore kicks it over to Schroeder. Howard, great positioning on the putback. And the Hawks lead by 17.
And Howard really gets up for those putback slams. That's the price you pay when you give him room.
And here at the end of the third quarter, it's a double-digit ball game. It's Atlanta. as they end the third quarter with a 13-3 run. 2K Sports back in a moment here at Phillips Arena in Atlanta. And meanwhile, Coach Brad Stevens talking to his team.
Piece by piece, chip away. See if you can't, next time we get together, have it down a few.
Brad Stevens reminding his guys, you still have time to get where you want to be. Just take it one possession at a time.
Well, he wants them to relax. I mean, there are going to be ups and downs over the course of a game. Just breathe and play.
Welcome back. Fourth quarter action starting up in what has been a one-sided show. And a look at the five for the Celtics to start the fourth quarter. Smart and Brown outside on the wings. Zeller is out there with Horford. And it's Thomas in at the point guard position. Well, Commissioner Adam Silver has said he'd like to see the league institute a 2 years out of college restriction. Brent, you played 4 years in college. I know you think that helped you. Do you think that requiring that extra development time would be a good thing for the NBA?
Interesting conversations I've had, Kevin, over the past 3 or 4 years with younger coaches in the NBA is the fact that with younger players, they have to take so much time to teach them fundamental things that chunks up a lot of the time that they would have in order to get their team ready for Game 30, Game 40. And so that teaching is really holding back a lot of teams from being as competitive as they should be once they get their season started. So 2 years, I think, is a great idea from Commissioner Silver. We'll see if that happens.
Now here's Thomas. The dish to Zeller. Drills the elbow jumper.
Just couldn't get a hand in the face on that one.
And this is where genetics may come into play, using that height, especially to get off the mid-range jumper.
Here's Schroeder. He kicks to Millsap. Millsap a screen on Brown. No good on the shot, a bit long that time. Celtics trail by 17. We're just over a minute and a half now into the fourth. Smart misses. For Atlanta, they've gone 1 of 3 from the field to start the fourth quarter.
And so just rolling to the finish line now in what has been a very confident-looking performance for the Hawks.
2 great rebounding teams.
And these guys worked just a little bit harder tonight, and that was the edge they needed.
And an important milestone for them tonight as they pick up win number 10.
They can chalk this one up, but these two teams will see plenty more of one another before the season's over. And beyond the actual result of this game, fans are going to look back and see this was just a monstrous performance for Howard. He was really important under the basket, making the plays down low and getting position to pull in rebounds.
Atlanta leading by 17. Outside Hardaway. The Hawks working the ball around. There's 49 seconds left in the game. Howard, and there's the whistle. Fouled hard on the shot. He'll go to the line.
And inside is where Howard does the most damage, especially how he gets these calls.
Well, you hear coaches talk often about the power of 5 and how a team can become greater than the sum of its parts. And there's no doubt that the Atlanta Hawks show and exemplify exactly that. High character, unselfish players, a team with no real superstars, but they certainly play the game the right way.
And some have wondered whether the Hawks have what it takes to win big, Brent, without a true superstar.
Well, they don't have one, Kevin, but I think they've put themselves in position to land one. They don't have any bad contracts. It's a team that's made the playoffs each of the last 9 seasons, and with Coach Budenholzer's recent success, I think some players may be invited to come and participate in that system.
Yarebko can't get it to go.
You almost have to assume he's going to knock those down when he is that open.
Screen by Howard. Inside. It's good, and he drew contact on the shot, so we will go to the line. A 3-point play chance here.
And the former first overall pick in the 04 draft, Howard has had a stellar career, a dominant force who continues to frustrate the opposition.
Pick by Zeller. Here's Rozier. Buries the long-range jumper.
Man, that is not an easy shot right there. I mean, he had to get it off over a much taller defender.
And smart to do that on the perimeter rather than go inside.
And so Atlanta takes this one by a big margin. And the outcome of this one was never in doubt.
And boy, they really put in a supreme effort. It just felt like once they had that lead and it was comfortable, they were not going to relinquish it.
And that about wraps it up. For Greg Anthony, Brett Barry, and David Aldridge, this is Kevin Harlan. Thanks for watching the NBA, presented by 2K Sports. Now it's time to head back to the studio with Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kenny Smith.
The 2K Sports post-game show.
Thanks, Kevin. Now we have the opportunity to present our Jordan. Dwight Howard. And how'd you feel about his performance, Shaq?
As efficient and offensive performance as you're ever going to see, and I mean ever. I don't care where your shots come from. You're not supposed to shoot that high of a percentage. Did he miss? I don't think he missed.
Scoring machine inside. He worked relentlessly carving out position, calling for the ball, and his teammates gave it to him and fed him, and he delivered.
And that'll do it for this edition of the NBA on 2K Sports. For Kenny Smith, for Shaquille O'Neal, for Kevin Harlan, and for the entire 2K Sports crew, this is Ernie Johnson. I hope you have a wonderful, even beyond wonderful, a spectacular, just great. I mean, see you.
Good night.